It's now time for the next section in this course. In this section, we're going to talk about language. Language is another category of the cognitive services, and in the language category, we have different services that all have to do with language, of course. So we can do spell checking, we can do sentiment analysis, so understand if someone is feeling happy or sad just by judging a piece of text. We can also filter out someone's intent, so we can understand what someone is trying to say without actually having to program what they actually have to say, so not just command-based, but they can also just write turn on the light or turn on the light please, and it will all deliver the same result that someone wants to turn on the light. So this is very powerful stuff. There's also, of course, some translation, so you can translate from one language to the other. There's a couple of different services in this category that are very interesting to look at. In this video, we are going to have a deeper look at the language category. We are going to see which services are included and how to use them. And I will show you a little bit in the Azure portal on where you can find these services and how to add them to your subscription to get started, and follow along in this section. As we've seen a couple of times before, this is the Cognitive Services website, and I went into the language category here. So if we scroll down a little bit, then you can see all the services that are included in the language category, which is text analytics. So you can analyze a piece of text. We've already seen an example of this in the introduction video. We can do named entity recognition, so it will extract entities out of a piece of text, and it will automatically see that you are talking about a landmark, for instance, so you're talking about the Eiffel Tower, and it will also add a link to that piece of text that says you are talking about the Eiffel Tower, and here's the Wikipedia link on the Eiffel Tower. And it will even detect the language that you type the text in. So whenever you type it in English, then the English link to the English Wikipedia is included. And if you do it in French, then the French Wikipedia is included. So there's lots of awesome stuff that you can do here. Another thing is the text sentiment analysis. So you can understand from a piece of text if it's happy or if it's sad or angry or that kind of stuff. So for instance, think of an example where you have a web shop and people are allowed to leave reviews for a certain product, and those reviews you want to detect if people are happy, or probably more important, you want to detect when people are angry, so you can act on it, so you can make these people happy again. So whenever someone leaves an angry review, you will automatically get notified. You can look into it yourself. And then you can act upon that to offer them something that will make them happy again, without having to look actually at all the reviews that are coming in, because your web shop is super popular, so you can't read all the reviews that are coming in. But this way you still have control over what is said on your reviews. Next, we can also leverage the Bing spell checker, so you can just put in text and it will give you back where spelling is bad and what the suggestions are to make it better. I think it can also proofread and that kind of stuff. So it will also do contextual spell checking and see if all the spelling is in order. Especially in Dutch, that can be a real pain to write everything in the right way based on the words that come before or after a certain word that affects the spelling. So yeah, this is very powerful as well. Then we have the language understanding. With this, you can filter out intent. So this is something that you might know from the bots or the smart assistants that we have right now. It doesn't matter how you talk to them, but it can filter out whatever you're trying to say, and it will then act upon that. So you can give it a command, and it doesn't have to be a certain command that only works because they programmed that certain command. But you can just say it any way you like, and it will still understand what you're trying to do and what your intent is, and then act upon that. Then we also have the translations. So with this, you can do everything that has to do with translations, of course. So it can detect the language automatically from a piece of text, and of course switch between languages, that if you put something in English, then it can translate that automatically to basically any other language that is available within this service. And lastly, we have the content moderator. So again, maybe you have some website, this time not a web shop, but a social media platform, and you don't want any funny content on there. This is a service that you could use for that. And you can automatically filter out certain adult content or maybe racy content or images and videos. And you can even train it with some more advanced services to detect custom images and texts and also block that. And it has some very powerful tools to notify any human moderators. So it will do a lot of filtering itself, but it can also flag human moderators to have a look at the content that is coming in. So this is a very good first barrier for people that are putting up content on your website, and you don't have to look at all the gruesome images and content that people might be uploading. You can just do that by using this service and use that as a first frontier to filter out the most horrifying stuff. Just like with the rest of the services, you first have to create the service in your Azure portal. So we can simply go to create a resource, and then you have to search for the specific service. The services in language are not bundled into one service, so you can, for instance, search for the spell check that is right here. Or if we go back, then we can search for the language understanding. So there's a couple of different services that you might want to use. Also the text analysis that does do a couple of things, like the sentiment analysis or the entity detection. That's all in text analysis. So this does do a couple of different things. But yeah, there's a couple of different services that you might need to create here, depending on what you want to use. Then again, just get the API key out and find the right endpoint based on your geographical location that you create the service in, and you're ready to go.